We have really cut back from what we used to have. Years ago when we first started, the whole thing was completely flowers.
We had 500 kinds of iris, down to about 100 kinds, and then hostas in under the trees here too. I am Doreen Whitney.
And Phil Whitney.
Whitney Gardens. You're in McLure, BC, the big metropolis.
For those who don't know, how popular is your garden?
Well, a lot of people know about us, so I guess it's popular.
How large is your property here?
5 acres, but we only have flowers on about 2.5 acres.
Still, that keeps you busy.
Oh, you better believe it.
Back 25 years ago, what inspired you guys to build this garden?
Tired from work to begin with, and then
I raised irises, tall German bearded iris, and Phil got interested in them. Dr. Smiley in Kamloops. I can't remember how we clicked with him, but he gave us a whole bunch of different kinds. And then that first winter, they all froze out. But by then, Phil was hooked, so he found a woman in Kelowna that would sell them, and he was buying $500 worth at a time. And then he, in his retirement, and then he bought one route from down across the line, and he paid $80 for it. And I said, maybe you should sell a few of these to support your habit. And that's how it started.
Any regrets?
No, not a bit. You got to keep moving, that's for sure. You can't just retire and lay back.
How do people hear about you guys?
We used to advertise in all the papers. Now we've got it just down to the barrier paper in Kamloops, and just word of mouth.
Now, how far would you say the furthest person to come here has come from?
Newfoundland, and she took plants back on the plane.
The garden's beautiful. And you guys do this all yourself then?
Now we do, yeah. We have for about, the last 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask you guys, how many hours do you spend in the garden every day?
From the time we get up in the morning, after we've had breakfast, we come out and work and stop for lunch. We stop for coffee in the afternoon and supper. And when we were younger, we used to work until 10 o'clock at night. But now, after supper, that's it. We had a diamond drill business, and we always worked away from home. Phil ran the drill, and I cooked and did the books, and so this has been wonderful because we're both at home, and we have our priorities. We get in little tiffs, but not too bad about how to do things.
Now, I understand this is your last year.
Yes, it is. Having it open to the public. We haven't decided what we'll do with all the plants yet, but we got lots of time. We can think about it.
So why is this your last year?
We're getting old, and we're getting older.
Not old.
And tired.
And if you don't mind my asking, how old are you guys?
I'll be 75 at Christmas. Phil will be 78 in November.
Well, we have fish ponds too, going from Zero Scrape and the desert garden. Well, we'll go over to the ponds there, and they've got some koi fish and altogether different. So we'll just wander over there.
A lady at Clearwater, Fran McRae, said she had water lilies for sale. Did I want to make a cash and plant trade with her? So I said okay, and we went up, and they were in 2 bathtubs, just roots in 2 bathtubs, and Phil told me I was crazy. Nobody would buy water lilies. That was before people started putting in ponds, so they buy them.
And the fish are fine in the water? It doesn't get too cold for them, or?
Oh no, it's this pond is about 5 feet deep, so in the winter time they just go down to the bottom, quit eating, and just hibernate.
This is our old pond that gave up the ghost, but we're going to redo it. And this is a high bush cranberry that the birds planted for us. And when it came time to pick the berries in the fall, seeing as it's leaning over the pond, I would have to get my bathing suit on and go in the pond to pick the berries.
With all the hundreds of plants you guys have, maybe thousands.
Thousands.
If you had to pick one favorite, what would you pick?
We like them all, but the peony, we have an old-fashioned one that's about 105 years old now. and it's fragrant, pink and fragrant. We call it the heirloom peony because no one knows what the name of it is. That's one of the first ones we got from a friend when I was 22, and it's still one of the favorites.
Of all the feedback you guys have received over the years, what would you say is the most memorable?
A lady that had breast cancer that came every week for a long time told us that we didn't know that she had breast cancer, but she told us at the end that the garden saved her life and the peacefulness of it. And another lady that came and would spend 2 hours, they would buy stuff too, but she would spend 2 hours by herself just wandering. And one day she came and she said, you know, this just gives me sanity, she said, and she said, I think this is about as close to heaven as I can get.
Now, for anybody interested in getting into gardening, maybe not initially at this scale, but eventually, what advice would you give them?
To make sure you have a strong back and that you are a workaholic, because otherwise it won't work.